All right, we're going to talk about, I forgot to write it down. Page 21. Whoa, that's a bad marker. Okay. Let me find a different marker here. Oh, we'll use black. How about that? All right, on the bottom of page 21, it says that we have this picture here, and we're supposed to reproduce that exact thing on our screen. And your parent or your supervisor is supposed to come and look at that and then initial and say, yeah, got the same thing. But what if you can't get that thing? Is your supervisor or parent going to be able to help you figure out how to get that shape? So that's what we're here for, okay? I just did it on mine. Da, 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 da. So it's exactly the same shape. And the key to doing this is to use the window screen, which is the second one over, okay? We're going to first use the y equals screen, which is the first one, and then we'll use the second screen, which is the window screen, and try to figure out what are all these numbers. And then we have to literally put those numbers in, okay? So first of all, I want you to look at this graph. Does that look to you like a sine graph or a cosine graph? Okay, so I'm not going to tell you the answer, but I want you to put that in for the y equals button. Okay, now let's look at the x minimum and the x maximum and try to figure out what we should put in for these numbers. This is the 0 line. This is where the two axes meet. So this is the origin, 0, 0. So can you see that on the x-axis, this minimum starts at 0? Okay? So we can put that in for the minimum. But now we got to figure out, well, what is this way out here? Do you remember what one complete cycle is? It's like a complete circle. And so that is 2 pi, for one complete cycle. How many complete cycles do we have? 1, 2, 3. So this value out here is going to be 3 times 2 pi. So I think you can do that math in your head. You don't need your calculator. That's what you're going to type in for the x max. Now let's look at the x, the y min, and the the y min and the y max. When I first looked at this, I thought, well, it's got to be 1 because this has a maximum height of 1 and a minimum height of 1. Okay? But if you do that, then when it graphs it, it goes all the way to the top and the bottom, and that's not what the graph in the book looks like. So here, this is actually what is the scale on this axis. So that was a little confusing to me. I can understand why that would be confusing to you. So let's look at the picture that they give you on the PACE there, and at the very bottom, you can see that the scale goes up 1, 2, 3, and then it stops. There's nothing after the 3. Down below it goes down 1, down 2, down 3, and then it stops. So we have a maximum and a minimum on the y-axis. Those are the two numbers you're going to plug in there. Make sure you put in the negative when it's the negative number. Okay. The x scale, we got to talk about that. The y scale is simple. That's just they have a tick mark every one. Okay. But if you look at the picture in your PACE, let me get closer here so you can see it. You see there's a tick mark halfway between these points, and then again here, and here, and here, and here. So all the way out, we have several tick marks. So let's figure out what would be each tick mark. Well, think about it. One complete cycle is 2 pi, right? So when we get to this halfway point, that would be just 1 pi from here to here. All right, that distance is 1 pi. But we want to know what is that tick mark right in between, halfway between 0 and pi. Okay? So I think you can figure out that that would have to be pi over 2. And remember, on the calculator, you have to do the shift, and then that looks like a roof of a house symbol, which actually stands for exponent, but above it you'll see the pi. So sometimes they just call it shift pi, but that means it's the pi symbol above it. Anyways, we've done that already, so I'm not going to dwell on that. And then we do the divide by symbol, and that will give us the line, and then of course the 2. Okay? Now, as I mentioned in a previous video, whenever you use these numbers like pi and pi divided by 2, all of a sudden your calculator is going to convert it into a decimal number. Okay? And that's fine, because if you in your head think about pi being 3.14, blah, 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 and then you were to divide by 2 or multiply by 6 or whatever, you're going to get the same decimal number that your calculator converted your answer into. Okay, hopefully that helps you get that set up, and then when you hit graph, it'll take that information from that window screen and graph it on the screen, and then you can call your supervisor over and impress them with how smart you are, that you figured this out.